So we all have these giant clusters of squishy neurons right behind our eyeballs. They try to convince us that they can collect and store fundamental immutables like the truth. Unlikely, yeah. But how do our brains store information? What are the limitations and how can they affect us? Can we observe information storage? Let's talk about brains. Let's think about brains in the frame of information theory. Information can be thought of as bits, either 1 or 0, on or off, true or false. When a cat yawns, you can represent the entire state of all its subatomic particles, their location energy, in bits. Of course, your eyes catch just a tiny fraction of it all, and your brain condenses this even further to form a memory of the yawn. Over time, to make space for new memories, your brain keeps the general impression, cats are cute, and forgets or prunes the rest. You could say your memory is lossy, that some information is lost when it is encoded. To be clear, our brains have a lot of major differences from computers, but the process of compressing a file for storage is reminiscent. This kind of compression in the brain is critical because the universe is infinitely complex. Luckily, a lot of information is redundant. For example, the human voice is actually resonating at multiple different frequencies all at the same time. And when you talk on the telephone, it chops off some of the range. But if all you want to do is order a pizza, that missing information won't stop you.
One pizza, please.
You also don't need to observe all the subatomic particles to recognize a cat. You actually only need just a few points. To save space, our brains learn, look for, and reinforce patterns. The way some AIs work is similar, and we can actually get a cool glimpse of what this pattern learning and recognition might look like. We can actually observe how convolutional neural network models learn object detection and recognition. You can see what neurons activate when the model is shown a cat face. These are the visualizations for how the model stores patterns for other animals. In the beginning layers, these patterns are simple, like basic shapes, but farther in, the patterns it memorizes become more complex. So in the case of both us and machines, we don't store every memory or training image. We save small parts of the big picture and details or textures. There is information loss inherent in this compression, but the goal is to save the most important parts and get rid of redundancy. If we come across something we've never seen before, we have to pattern match based on past experiences. But being too confident about completely new things is a bad idea. So far, we've talked about simplifying just the visual information of a cat yawn, but real life obviously is way more complex. Two people might observe the same event, but selectively remember different things about it. For example, when we saw a cat yawn, there was a lot of extra contextual information, like the cat was actually in the window across the street, and it had black ears with orange tufts, and it was licking its paw, and it was oriented northeast, and a garbage truck drove by while we looked, and so you can think of all these other facts as features in a high-dimensional space. Even though we both observe the same things, our brain is going to simplify and flatten all this extra information and pick and choose what to focus on. Back to the AI analogy. When you initialize these AI models with different starting states, or show them images in a different order, they learn different patterns. That's also true of our brains. Everyone has a very different mental compression of reality. The people you know have a different compression of the same events you both experienced. All these compressions are right in some parts, where a true subset of the objective information was saved, and potentially wrong where it collapsed to a pattern and different context was considered important. So now the question becomes, what compression of reality is the most valid?